Yeah, you're not seeing things. It's another episode of Underrated Movie Villains. It's been ages since I did one of these. But I recently saw a movie on Netflix that I hadn't seen in years. And the villain in it was so good, I just had to make a video on him. I guess that's how this series is going to work from now on. Whenever I happen upon a great but unknown movie villain, I'll make a video, as opposed to me actively seeking out underrated cinema rogues. I tried that for a while and came up nil. Anyway, the movie in question is The Hard Way from 1991, an action comedy starring James Woods and Michael J. Fox. The movie is about spoiled Hollywood movie star Nick Lang, played by Fox. Lang is desperate to get the part of Ray Casanov, a grizzled cop in a police drama. So, in order to prepare for the role and further his chances, he decides to do some method acting. He decides to work alongside an actual grizzled cop. After pulling some strings, he gets himself assigned as the new partner of New York City Police Lieutenant John Moss, played by Woods. Moss himself hates this arrangement though, and also happens to hate Lang and his movies. So, hilarity naturally ensues. It also happens that Moss is hot on the tracks of his arch nemesis, a serial killer known only as the Party Crasher, played by Stephen Lang. And that is of course why we're here. Now, last time I saw this movie must have been around 15 years ago or so, and I had seen it a couple of times. I remembered it fairly well, including specific scenes and even lines. But for some reason, the movie's villain had completely escaped my mind. I have no idea how that happened. Needless to say, upon rewatching it, I was completely blown away. Like, holy shit, who's this villain? How can he be so forgotten? How come no one's ever talking about him when they mention the greatest cinema villains? And how the hell did I forget about him? You're of course about to find out what's so special about him.
Me to you. Me to you.
The performance by Stephen Lang is just absolutely insane. It's so over the top, but in a really good way. And keep in mind, this movie is really more action than comedy. Tone-wise, it's basically like the Lethal Weapon movies. It's not Ace Ventura. So the Party Crasher is not supposed to be funny, per se. He's supposed to be more disturbing, and that he sure is. But of course also kind of entertaining if you like insane villains, like I naturally do. This guy is indeed a complete nutjob.
You're gonna die! Comes back!
He just laughs in the face of danger and finds enjoyment in his battle with Lieutenant Moss. Either he doesn't understand when he's in danger, or he just doesn't care. He has some really weird habits too, like walking around shirtless in his apartment and playing chess with himself. And he's even made his own computer game where he plays as himself and murders people. He also seems to be very vain. I already mentioned walking around shirtless, and he does sport a pretty impressive physique, so the guy clearly takes care of his body. I imagine he goes to the gym and stares into the mirror while lifting. And he also puts on some kind of face cream, so he's obviously very concerned about his skin. Not too many guys who does that. The hair is clearly dyed too. He's very appearance conscious. So the Party Crasher is a serial killer. We've established that. But who are his victims? Innocent young women? Well, that's usually the case, but not with this guy. No, this guy has an entirely different kind of prey. Criminals. That's right, the Party Crasher murders criminals. Pimps, drug dealers, prostitutes, arms dealers. He's basically doing what he thinks is God's work. He thinks he's doing good. He doesn't even understand why Lieutenant Moss is after him.
Why are you treating me like a criminal?
I don't know, because You are one?
No, I'm not.
In his mind, they're on the same side and should be partners instead. That is a damn fascinating serial killer.
I haven't done anything wrong. Anything. I killed a pimp.
Killed a drug dealer.
Of course, he's naturally an extremist. When confronted by Moss about innocent people dying in the crossfire, the party crasher simply calls that sacrificing pawns. So the guy does have a pretty clear chess theme going on. He also calls his activities and Moss's job a game, and he calls Moss his opponent. To the party crasher, the whole thing seems to be a game of chess between him and Lieutenant Moss. Moss, not agreeing with his extreme views, makes the party crasher view him as inferior and weak. Not a true hero who isn't willing to go all the way.
I would have been a great cop. Better than you.
He expresses a similar notion when being confronted by Nick Lang, whom he, like Moss, also hates,
I hate your movies.
but for different reasons. The party crasher views Lang as a fake hero, only pretending to be heroes in movies, and a bad role model for people.
You're not a real hero. People need real heroes.
He would rather that people looked up to him instead of phony movie stars. So yeah, wow. He's completely batshit insane, and has noble but twisted goals. Now you see why I like him so much. The party crasher clearly also wants attention. All of his killings are public. In fact, his first kill in the movie is in a jam-packed nightclub, and he called the police there, warning them that he was gonna strike. I also observed that he wears bright red in many scenes. Bright red obviously stands out more than any other color. That can't be a coincidence, it was clearly done on purpose. He wants to be seen, and he wants his work to be known. He wants to be noticed so that people can have their hero to look up to. Of course, he doesn't understand that nobody's ever gonna look up to him. He's as delusional as it gets. We've got a villain with fascinating motivations, an eye-catching look, a crazy personality, and a very memorable performance by the actor.
Me to you.
I can honestly say that I would now probably, most likely, put the Party Crasher in my top 10 movie villains. By the way, he's got a really cool name too, the Party Crasher, and we never find out his real name. His true identity is a mystery. It's a darn crying shame that this character and Lang's amazing performance isn't more remembered. This character should be hailed as one of cinema's greatest villains. I do also want to stress, though, that the Party Crasher is not the only good part about the movie. It's not like the first underrated movie villains video I made, if you guys remember that one, on Jean-Claude Van Damme's character from Enemies Closer. That was a crappy, forgettable action movie, its sole redeeming quality being the villain. No, The Hard Way is simply a great movie too. James Woods and Michael J. Fox are both great in it and have really good chemistry, and it succeeds in both the action and comedy departments. So I do highly recommend you watch The Hard Way. I can imagine most of you have never even heard of it, since a lot of you are younger than me, and the movie isn't exactly a well-known classic. Odds are, if you weren't around in the 90s, you've missed out on it. It is on Netflix, here in Scandinavia, but I don't know about the rest of the world. But I suggest you look it up if you have Netflix. And I guess I'll be making another underrated movie villains video when I happen to stumble upon a great movie villain that no one talks about. And as always, remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.
This isn't a movie, stupid.